Good morning, Starshine. Though it may not be morning when I record this, when I post this, wherever you are. I don't know, but it felt like the shirt I wanted to wear, so we're going with it. Alright, so today I wanted to look at the different court cards that the Dreams of Gaia deck uses. I'm hopeful I'll be able to get through both card number 11 and 12, but I may split it up into two videos, depending upon what I do, what I say. I don't know what I'm gonna say. It's gonna be a surprise to me. I don't have a script here. I've just got my cards laid out. So we'll see what happens. So I use the Dreams of Gaia deck pretty often. It's probably my number one tarot deck that I use. I do it for all of my daily readings in the morning. I don't always post those readings on Instagram, but it's the deck that gets used all the time. I really love the artwork on it. I know I've done at least one video on that, on the whole deck, just showing the different cards. And I just want to sort of expand upon that because these are cards that differ greatly from your standard Rider-Waite-Smith deck. But they're interesting cards, and I like having them in the readings because I think they incorporate something extra into the readings from this deck. So I just thought it would be fun to go through them and talk about them a little bit and see how they differ and what their sort of meanings are and how they fit in with the deck as a whole. Maybe I might change exactly what I'm talking about halfway through the video because, again, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't have a script anywhere. Literally, this is all that's in front of me. This and a keyboard. I've got nothing. I got nothing. So this is what I got. I'm making it up as I go. All right, so I'll start with the fire card, which, no, you know what? Here's how I'm going to start it. I'm going to start by explaining exactly why these cards are different. So in your standard, typical Rider-Waite-Smith style deck, your court cards consist of cards 11 through 14. So you have, in the Minor Arcana, you'll have cards 1 through 10, and then they'll be followed by 4 court cards, which is usually the Page, the Knight, the Queen, and the King. In some, they've changed those namings. Druidcraft does Princess, Prince, Queen, and King, to incorporate some more of the feminine energy in there, because a lot of people feel like the court cards are usually very masculine heavy except for the Queen. But, some of those energies can just vary. So that's what a normal standard tarot deck has. It usually has your Page energy, your Knight energy, your Queen energy, and then your King energy. And in Dreams of Gaia, you don't have Pages or Knights. You have Balancing and Realigning cards, and then you also have sort of an advisor card. And I'll get to the advisor later. I'm going to work on card number 11, which is the Balancing and Alignment cards. So each element, because Dreams of Gaia does work with elements as opposed to cups, wands, pentacles, and swords. Dreams of Gaia works with water, fire, earth, and air. So you move on through each of those elements until you get to, obviously, the 10, which is the completion of a cycle, and then you move on to what are considered the court cards. Here, they're Balancing and Realignment cards. So the Balancing and Realignment cards, the way Raven Phelan describes them in her book, in the guidebook for Dreams of Gaia, is that these cards are calling you to balance out something within you, And obviously each of the elements represents something. So water represents relationships, emotions, feelings. Fire represents creativity, passion, excitement, drive, and motivation. It represents sexuality and sensuality. Earth is the physical world, the things that we're working on, manifesting here, and the work we're doing for it, our jobs, our careers, our family, all of the stuff that exists here on this physical plane. While air is thoughts, ideas, the mind, creating those things in here. So each of these balancing and realignment cards, when they come up, they're usually asking you to look at this aspect of your life or the thing you're doing a reading on and asking you to balance them out. So as of today, when I'm recording this, one of my shadow card of the morning was the masculine and feminine card, which is the balance and realignment card, card number 11 for the fire suit. What I would say to that in a reading is that because it's a shadow cards are usually things that we need to look at, but maybe we're not comfortable looking at yet, or we don't want to because maybe it's scary to look at. And we have to deal with those things every day in addition to going about our daily day and getting our shit done. So was there, a time throughout the day where maybe I was too aggressive and too forceful about something, maybe at work, maybe I was insisting it has to be done this way, instead of sitting back and listening and adopting the feminine energy of being receptive and open and hearing to what other people had to say? Or was I sitting back and, just being so open that I wasn't standing up for what it was? That's sort of what these cards are asking us to do. Looking at whatever the issue in these cards is talking about, in this case, masculine and feminine, and seeing, is there something that we're missing in ourselves or in our lives, or just in whatever we're doing a reading on? If it is a reading about a job, and you pull out the masculine and feminine card, is it asking you to look at just your daily life, or is it asking you to look at your career overall? That is why I think these are really interesting and sort of handy cards, because they do ask us something specific, really asking us to look at who we are and the situation that we're reading about and get more information from that. So I'll move on to water next, which is emotion and intellect. And this is a big thing, balancing these things out. Obviously, as I was just saying, water is all about emotions and relationships and connection and love and all the emotional BS. Sorry, that's the Capricorn in me coming out. We're working through it. We're working through my emotional and intellectual imbalance, okay? We're getting there. So emotion and intellect, when that would come up, that would normally signify that maybe whatever situation you're reading about, you need to really be looking at what your emotions are and what your thoughts are about it. Are your emotions overwhelmed and that's causing you to think differently about the situation? Are you thinking too much about it and not really going where your heart leads you? There does have to be that balance between thoughts and trusting your gut instinct. So emotion and intellect is asking us to look at both of those very sensitive things within our human selves and try to figure out which one is one in overdrive and one in underdrive, and which one is it. And when we start looking at that and we start questioning it really in-depthly and deeply, then it'll hopefully be helping us find the answer that we need for, again, whatever we're reading about. Whether it's a relationship. Are you thinking you don't want to get in a relationship with this person because you really don't like them? Or did you like them, but now you're just overthinking everything about, how hard it'll be, how you don't have time, how you just aren't ready to be emotionally vulnerable yet? Like, there's so much in these cards that, make us question those things. I'll do air next, since we were just talking so much about thought, because air is actually body and mind. And this is a big thing that comes up a lot in spirituality. How much our thoughts affect not just our bodies, but the physical world around us. What we think about a situation is ultimately going to drive us on how we're going to act for that situation. If you're thinking that a situation is always going to be negative, then don't be surprised when you have negative experiences, because you've already determined it in your head. And it goes beyond just that. Like, you can see from this card, the thought waves are just coming out of a head and going into the physical body. If you are so busy thinking about all this negativity, it's just going to affect how you feel and how you think about everything. thoughts are such a powerful thing. And that's what this card is a strong reminder of, that we need to keep our thoughts in check. Not necessarily that we need to be 100% positive and happy and assured all the time, but just that if we're never open to seeing things in another way, then we may not ever be able to grow past our own mind frames, or maybe we're just never going to be able to experience something the best ways that we can experience things. Think about the messages that are coming to you every day from inside your head. Are they balanced? Are they always negative? Are you always just seeing a negative outcome as opposed to envisioning a positive outcome? Are you working through, gratitude and happiness and gracefulness? Are you being led that way? Or are you letting your thoughts overwhelm you to the point that it's actually affecting you physically? Another big symptom of this is stress. I was once talking to a massage therapist, and she actually said she had gone to a conference where they said the biggest killer within the next few years is not going to be cancer. It's not going to be a lot of the diseases that we know. It's going to be stress. We're all, Americans especially, we're all overstressed, and we're all thinking about things too much. We're thinking about work too much, and we're not taking enough time to think about our families or our friends, our loved ones, the things that bring us joy. We're not focused on that enough. And that's why pulling this card should be a reminder to keep those things in check. Keep the things in check of what you're thinking, because all of the stuff that you're thinking, that's what you're putting energy to. And if you're constantly thinking and overwhelmed in your thought process, you're gonna start affecting your body. And I think it's obviously a very important lesson to learn. And then you have the last card, which is the Heaven and Earth card. And I will admit, sometimes this one does throw me for a loop when it comes up. This card is serving to remind us about that whole idea of as above, so below. We are connected to the physical world, but we're also connected to the divine just by our own existence. It reminds us that what we do physically here on Earth has an impact. And we should be considering the things that we're doing and what impact they are having on things. Whether that be, the job that you're doing every day. What impact are you having on yourself and your own life and your friends and family's lives? But also, how are you serving the whole world? And maybe some people can't always think about what they're giving back and how they're serving the world, but even our daily actions just taking different steps there can help us serve the world in a better way. And so it's reminding us that big connection of all of those different things. Our individual connection to Earth, the planet, Mother Earth herself, but also our own connection to the divine and trying to be open to those connections and to the things that we're working on achieving towards our greatest and highest good. So that's those cards, and that's sort of like my interpretation of them. I swear I don't even have the book next to me to be referring to them for, but I think that's my interpretation of that card. And I think these cards are really great because they add something completely different, something new for you if you're doing a reading for yourself, or your readee if they come up in a reading. It's giving you an action in a sense. It's telling you, look at this aspect of your life, and is it out of balance? And that's the great thing about the card, is whether it comes up reversed or upright, it usually has that same meaning of, look at this. Are you out of balance? Where are you out of balance? Really consider that and work through it to work on getting your answer. So I'm going to leave that there. We'll talk about the advisor cards in a different video because I've recorded a little bit longer than I meant to. I hope that helps, and I hope anyone who's working with these cards or struggling with these cards has some different insight. And if you have your own insight into these, your own different interpretations of them, please let me know. Again, I love this deck. I love working with it. So if anyone has any other ideas for them, please let me know. Thanks. Bye. Excuse me. Just give me one hot second here. Duality, just how much our thoughts affect our mind. Yeah, our thoughts affect our mind. Good one, Anya. You're on it, man. You are so on it. Anya's on it. All right. And that's a good reminder of what this card is trying to say and do. Someone needs to come into my room. Hang on a moment.